Say it inside. On top of page Lamed Beis. Ve-im-kol-zeh. Despite all that refers to the fact that the oiris, as we defined, are infinitely superior to keilim, to the extent that relating oiris to keilim, we would say the oiris are blima, are undefinable. They're without definition, because they're reflective of the oir in safe. This is what oir is, reflective of oir in safe. Ve-im-kol-zeh, despite that, there's a sphirot mamash. They are oiris of sphirot mamash. What does mamash mean? Not only potentially, not only that when they mislabish in the keilim, then they can become sphirot. They become like the keilim. But as oiris, they're sphirot mamash. Hainu, which means Shagam behoiris yesh as a sphirot mamash. That in the oiris too there is the union as a sphirot mamash, even though we think that there is a pshutim relative to keilim. There's as a sphirot mamash. V'shayochim, this is the key to understand this union. V'shayochim, and they are possible Rag b'vchinas hakam v'chut. The oiris are possible only in the aspect of the kav v'chut, the narrow beam, so to speak. What's called a kav, a line, a chut, or a strand. Hanimshach mi-oir ein soif baruch, that is drawn from oir ein soif. This is a kind of a graphical description of, there is the oir ein soif, and then there was a tzimtzum, and the tzimtzum retracted the entire glory, the gilui of the oir ein soif. And after the tzimtzum, there was the inyan, as we learned before, chozeh v'heir, that from that oir, from the oir that preceded the tzimtzum, now, and it was completely retracted, now it was reintroduced again, bringing it through the tzimtzum, but now it's reintroduced in the form of a kav v'chut, not oir ein soif in a manner as it was prior to the tzimtzum, but now it is also oir, but it comes in the form of a kav v'chut, of a narrow beam of oir, and it's nimshach ma'oir ein soif baruch. It still represents the oir ein soif, and it's nimshach from the oir ein soif, but it comes in a form in a kav v'chut manner. Because it does not, when we say that it chozeh v'heir, the oil was reintroduced, it was not to nullify the whole effect of the tzimtzum. We do away with the tzimtzum. The tzimtzum remained intact. But the oil v'chut, but the chut permitted that despite the tzimtzum there should also be oil. How can there be oil, even though there's a tzimtzum, if oil is oil in safe? And we say that yes, that it is nimshach me'oir in safe, but it comes in a narrow beam of light. So,
Okay, so yesterday, we had the mashal yesterday. You gave the mashal yesterday of the home, and yesterday we focused on the keilim and the or that's mislavish in the keilim. So the keilim is like the furniture that has specific functional purposes. They're designed to be comfortable, but the or is much deeper than that. It's that it allows the person to access his inner faculties, his seichel, when he uses the keilim, they're designed in such a way that it's a keilim for his essence, for his real self to come out. Then now we're learning, that was on the keilim level and the or that's mislavish in the keilim. So here what we're learning on AyinBase is the oros themselves. We're saying that the oros themselves are also divided and have they are oros the sphirot. So I asked yesterday what in the mashal would be, is in the mashal, do we have that as well? And you said that you explained it, but you challenged us to come up with to bring it out ourselves. So,
and you picked up the gauntlet.
So here we go. So the home is a human being is basically the balabas of the a human being is representative of God, of the essence of the Eibishter here in the world. And the home is how he claims a part of the world. He belongs in the world. He's solidified here. Now, within that, to kind of show that he's the balabas, there's different aspects of showing is the balabas. There's the aspect that he owns it without having to do anything, and then there's the aspect that he can do anything. In that he's free to, within that, act and civilize the world, or treat the world as his own. So, within the home represents a place where he could rest. A place where he is able to rest, but it also represents a place where he could act. So I'm kind of looking at that as potentially two different auras. The ones that he could express himself fully, the ones that he can come back to himself, so to speak.
Anything more?
No.
Okay.
Just be reminded what this is in answer to the challenge was to see how what I didn't catch.
The auras themselves. Not yesterday we talked about the auras mislavish and the keilim.
With the house and the furnishings.
Right. So within the furnishings, there's the auras of the mislavish in them. But here we're saying that even in the auras themselves, before there's any kind of mislavishus in the keilim, the auras are also they're also representative of different different sphirot. They're right. There's distinction. There's distinctions within the auras themselves, even having nothing to do with being mislavish in different keilim.
And then you asked, so how does that relate to the house?
Right.
Okay.
So the key to understand this, says, that there's Esses Sphirot Mamish, which means in the Oires himself there is also Esses Sphirot Mamish. Although we finished saying before that the Oires are Ha'ora of Ayin Sof. And relative to keilim, they're called blima. Keilim have a definitive message, what the keilim are about. Oires do not, they blima. And yet there is 10 sphirot. How can it be 10 sphirot if there is no ma? If it's all reflective of the Ayin Sof. And this is what Rabbi is saying. Shayochim rag b'bchinas haka v'chud hanimshach me'Ayin Sof. The Ayin, this is shayach only in the aspect of a Ayin v'chud that's nimshach from Ayin Sof. It's not the Ayin Sof itself, but that which is nimshach from the Ayin Sof. Since Ayin Sof is Ein Sof, what can be the possibility of Nimshach Me'Ayin Sof? It's Ein Sof, it's everything and all-encompassing. Where is it Nimshach to? So we
What means Nimshach?
Hello?
Yeah, and what means Nimshach?
The Oires are Nimshach.
Yeah, what
The
means
Chad
Nimshach?
B'chut is Nimshach. It's Nimshach Me'Ayin Sof.
Yeah, but I don't understand what means Nimshach. What means Nimshach? The word Nimshach itself.
Nimshach means it is brought forth. It is not itself. You draw from it.
For an example.
That's what we're trying to understand, for example. Nimshach, it draw from it and says there is Chesed and Gur and Tiferes. This is not Ayin Sof per se, but it is a draw from Ayin Sof. That, okay. The difficulty over here, and we have to kind of focus and identify, like you pointed out, two distinct elements within the union of oil itself. There is the oil sof, and then there's a tzimtzum. How can it be a tzimtzum in oil sof?
If the Eibishter willed that there can be ore, why can he not will that the ore will be withdrawn?
That's right. He can will anything.
That there was ore at all is
No. You're not answering to the question.
okay.
I understand you. We're not asking a question on a Meibus. Meibus can do anything. We're asking what happened. How is this true in oil? Maybe he can do anything. He can completely ignore the oil aspect and he can do whatever he wants to do.
Our question is, how could this be true in oil? How
In
could you
oil.
have
How do you understand it? We're saying this is part and parcel of the oil. This is nimshach me'oyer in seif. And oil is by definition reflective of the oil in seif. For this we had many very good explanations. So if it's nimshach me'oyer in seif, how can it be then the definitive qualities? And now we're coming back to the beginning of that. How can there be any different tzimtzum in the Ayin Seif? If it's Ayin Seif.
Maybe I said it too simply, and maybe I should stop with it. But in other words, a creation is already something that is definitive, even in the level of auras. But it's nonetheless a creation. It has a beginning.
Creation normally is referred to the keilim. I'm not contradicting what you're saying. I'm saying what we're trying to understand. And he says, yes, keilim, we have no problem with. The point is that in oiras themselves there is sphirot. Mamosh.
Perhaps that because etzem does not need to be recognized by anything else to be true. It's true in and of itself. And if the auras are representing or really fully representative of the etzem, then it has the quality also that it doesn't need to be seen. There's a quality there that it does not need to be outside of itself, so to speak, to be true.
Okay.
So therefore, there's room for the tzimtzum to express, I guess, the full auros are really expressed when there is also in its shining, and also in the fact that it is the possibility of being concealed.
So here is just the short of it. Oir ein soif, as we said, I think many times. Oir ein soif does not mean that the oil per se is ein soif. There cannot be ein soif entities. The oil in soif is the oil of the etzem. The oil that alludes to the presence of the etzem, this is oil in soif. Now, as going back to our moshel, we said as soon as the owner of the home owns the home or steps into the home, his presence extends itself everywhere in the home. Doesn't have to be extended. But by his presence, it's automatic. He's automatically everywhere. Now, what happens if he steps into the home and he's automatically everywhere, and then he steps out of the home? then are you now permitted to go into the home without the permit?
Of course.
What remains then? No, stop it. He's always an answer. Come on. What? What remains?
His ownership. His ownership.
The reality of his presence remains. Not the actual presence. The actual presence. In other words, you see the oil, but you don't see where it's coming from. But clearly, it's still a home, even if the owner is not present. This is the difference before and after the tzimtzum. For the tzimtzum, you have oil inside. After the tzimtzum, you have oil inside. The difference is that before the tzimtzum, you have the oil inside, seeing how its source, where it's coming from. After the tzimtzum, you have the oil inside, and also it's coming from the same source. But now you don't see that source. If you don't see that source, so everything is hidden. This oil in Seif, this oil that you recognize at this point after the tzimtzum, or after the host leaves the house, okay, I'm going to ask you, can we sense a difference between this oil of the host when he is present or when he is absent? When he is present,
For sure.
when he is present, we cannot use the term the oil is nimshach from him. Because his presence automatically fills the entire home. The oil of his asim, of his presence, you cannot refer to it as being nimshach, because his very presence that brings forth the oil. It's not a hamshach. Hamshach means that there is the source and then there is the destination. When he is present, the very source is everywhere. But not in fact, he is only in one place in the house. But the effect of his presence is everywhere. When he steps out, the same effect remains. But now you refer to it as something coming from him. When he is present, you don't have to refer to it, oh, this is his home. It's not his home, this is him. When he is absent, the him remains in the form of this is his home. This is called a hamshach. Now, there's a phenomenal difference. Again, this is where the sensitivity is. You have a house that has 10 rooms. When the owner of the house is present, he's not present in each one of these 10 rooms. He's present in the whole house. When he is absent, then his presence is drawn in each one of these 10 rooms.
And this is where the host eats. This is where the host dines and sleeps.
Whether you can identify functionally or not is not important. You come into a room and says, who owns this room?
So the division is inside the rooms, and then in each of the rooms, the hosts, you can identify that this is belonging to the host.
Right.
And it belongs. There are differences within each of those rooms. There are differences in how.
Right. He has a home of 10 rooms. Why does he have a home of 10 rooms? Because for some reason he wants a home 10 rooms. The important thing is that in his absence, his presence has to be brought. In his presence, it doesn't have to be brought. And once it has to be brought, then there's already an identity as to what are you bringing.
What's this element of has to be brought by the
I'm
mashal? By the mashal with a man in his home.
Right.
When he's not in the house, he's still the owner. There's an element of bringing.
Yes, he's an owner of this whole house.
But this mashal doesn't really explain the differences, because the whole idea here is that it's oros that are 10 spheros. And here, essentially, you're bringing the same presence of the owner into each of the 10 rooms. It also seems to be dependent on the keilim, because the room is like each different room.
No, that's how you understand it. But the reason that he has 10 rooms is that he's present to 10 rooms.
Would it be the same as saying that he could do 10 different things in the house, or his presence is reflected?
No. Oh, his presence is identifiable
in different kinds of things.
In the fact that there are 10 rooms. If there were not 10 rooms, then we wouldn't say it's a human dwelling.
Even if there's one room, you could identify that. Let's say the host sleeps, the host eats, the host, or.
But you could have, and in fact you do, according to, as the Maimar states, you have blima with him in the, and blima without him inside. But that's, the blima is his presence, his overwhelming presence. And this blima, when he steps out of the home, is also a presence, but with this added thing that it's a presence that's nimshach into.
Right. The principle of Hamshacha is that when he is there, you don't have to. The question as to whose home it is doesn't apply. When he is absent, the question as to whose home it is does apply. And in such manner that it does apply, what's the answer? That this is his home in every aspect of the home. In his presence, it is not identifiable. It's not divisible by the different aspects. In his absence, it is. Why? Because now you have to re-identify his presence here. Why? Let's continue.
Good morning, Rabbi Paltiel.
Mikol